Hello there, my name's Leonard. I'm a Tier 2 support engineer with Scale Computing. And today I'm going to show you one way that you could deploy a template on the Scale platform to enable you to create a sort of a standardized image. Makes it very easy and quick to deploy the same, say, Windows Server image over and over again. For this, I'll be making use of the Microsoft SYSPREP tool and a feature called OOBE, out-of-box experience. Let's get on and I'll show you what you do there. So first thing we need to do is we need to create a standard Windows server template. We need to decide as a business what that might be and what have you. You can change this at a later stage in terms of memory, CPU, and storage. But for myself, I've decided that I want to standardize. I've already got some machines here that I've built, but I want to create a standard image. And so what I'm going to do is create my first virtual machine. Let's come across here. We're just going to call this, say, template underscore Windows 2019. And then we'll call this, we can change this later on. I'm going to group this, I'm going to put this under my templates and also my demo one as well, so it appears with my other machines. It's going to be a Windows server. I'm going to have 2 CPUs as my standard machine, 4 gig of RAM. Again, these can be changed when you come to deploy the server, so don't worry too much about that. I'm actually going to create a 250 gig C drive, boot drive. That's partly because nowadays with Windows Server and maybe some applications, they may need to be installed on the C drive. But again, we thin provision our disks, so that space won't be used up. And then I'm also going to add a single data drive, so 500 gigs. So that's going to be my standard machine that I look to deploy going forward. I can adjust these. I could remove off that 500 gig if I want. I can make it bigger. But if someone asks for a server, then this is what they would get. And then finally, I'm going to choose an ISO that I wish to boot from. In this case, we're going to set up a Windows Server 2019 and hit create. So that creates me my template machine just coming up here. I'm now going to hit the power button to power that on. And the next step actually is to go through and install, start to set up and install our Windows Server software, get it up to date and what have you. There is a step though that you need to follow, and it's quite important that you do this at the right time. So let me just jump across to this server and we'll start getting this set up and going. Click on the console here. Here it is starting to load. Okay, so let's just go through the standard setup process like we would normally. We want to install this. Now, since we're going to be using the VirtIO performance drivers within this virtual machine, we'll need to install these before the disk will appear. Let's see, I'm going to be choosing in this instance here the data center desktop experience. Hit next. Custom. So notice that there is no hard drive appearing here, and that's because we need to load the driver. Now, we automatically mount that relevant driver CD when you create a Windows machine, and here it is here, these Scale Guest tools, and if I click on here, we can expand out and look for the relevant driver. It's the storage one, and we're going to be doing Windows 2019. There we go, and then just hit next. Okay, so there's the 2 drives that we've added in there. Before we do this, though, I actually load up the network driver as well, so that I don't have to do this afterwards and the machine's ready to go. So we'll check load driver here, browse again, and this time I'm going to choose the networking one. There it is. Okay, so now we're ready to begin installation. We'll hit the next key. And Windows is now going to install. It's important at the next stage where you're sort of selecting what country you're in, username, password, that you don't complete that. So we'll just get this installed and then we'll come back in a second for the next stage. Okay, so we've just finished installing Windows Server, and we're now at the final stage where we would normally put in an administrator password and choose what country we're in and so on. In this case, we're not going to do this. Instead, what we're going to do is a little feature that not many people realize is that you can actually jump into the SYSPREP tool from this window. And the way you do this is by holding down Control Shift and pushing the F3 key. And what this will do now is log you in. It'll reboot the server and it will log you in as the default user straight into the command Windows desktop. From here, you'll be able to configure, make changes to the system, install Windows updates, etc. So let's get that going. Okay, so as you can see here, it's just starting up. We got the system preparation tool already running. For the moment, we don't need to worry about this. So what I would do is just hit the cancel key. Okay, so now we're into our desktop, and it's from here that we can actually configure the server, install Windows updates, maybe install Chrome or Edge if you want to, and so on. So that's what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run through, install all the Windows updates, install some other things. We will have the networking turned on here. We absolutely want that to happen. One of the first things I would highly recommend doing is installing the Scale tools onto the server. So you've already got them on there. That will give you the quiescing of snapshots, but also give you those drive letters to appear in next to the snapshots in the GUI as well. So we're just going to do that first. That'll just take a second to do. And then the final step, I think, is to put on a lot of Windows updates. So let's get in and start doing our Windows updates. This is obviously going to take a little while to do. The advantage, of course, is it means that you don't have to keep installing Windows updates for your virtual machines as you build them, if you build them manually one at a time and what have you. And it's quite easy as well to update this template image, and I'll show you how to do that. So let's just do a check to see how many updates are available to be installed. Okay, so there's a fair number of updates there. They're going to start downloading. So let's get all those updates installed up to date, and then we'll install an application as well, so that we've got a default application that we may want within the image as well. So let's do that now then. Okay, so we finished installing the updates now. Let's get the server rebooted. And as the server reboots, it will automatically log in using that default OOBE account. It's the default user, so we don't need to log in. This will install the updates now. Once it's logged back in, we'll do a few more Windows updates to make sure that we've got everything, and then we'll install our application piece of software. Okay, so here we are. We've just finished installing our updates. The system's rebooted, logged back in. We're back at this sort of system preparation tool. We'll hit cancel here again. We're going to see if there's any more updates. Microsoft never let you off with just one update. Okay, so there's a few updates just installed there. Let's just see if there's any more. Okay, that looks good. So there's no more updates to install. The other thing I am going to do whilst we're here is just look to format that second drive so it's ready to be used as such if we need to. So we can just come into the disk management tool. Okay, and there it is. Let's bring that online. I'm going to set this, I mean, here's a tip as well. You can set this for master boot record so that that will work fine, but MBR disks can only be up to 2 terabytes inside. If you set it as a GPT, then you have the option of expanding it past 2 terabytes if you want to. Okay. So the final thing I'm going to do is just install one application, a simple application. You could install some other things as well. I'm going to put on, actually I'm going to put on a few applications. I'm going to put on the new Edge browser. That's now available for Windows Server, so I would recommend putting that on there. And I'm also going to install 7-zip as well, because that's pretty useful to use. So let's just do 7-zip now. I'll just browse to my folder where I have that installed. And I'm just going to copy that to the desktop. And just unblock that so it'll install. And then I want to install the new version of Edge. So to do this, we will need to enable or disable a few of the security features. And if we just come under local server here and turn off the IE enhanced security configuration. Okay. And then if we bring up Edge or Internet Explorer, we can now install Microsoft Edge. Just say we don't need to worry about that. Okay, that's looking good. We'll just, we won't sign into Edge, there's no need at the moment. And what I'm going to do is pin that to the taskbar. I'm also going to grab a link and put it on the desktop so it's available. Delete 7-zip, we don't need that anymore. Okay, so that there is an example of a very simple setup. I've fully updated my Windows Server. I've also installed Microsoft Edge, the new browser. Let's just unpin that, we don't need that. I've installed 7-zip. There may be some other applications that you wish to install. And what will happen if I reboot this machine now is it will always boot up into this default user OOBE setup. So let's just do that. I'll show you what happens again just to be clear on that. You don't need to log in or anything like that. This is just going to restart straight into that. And here it is, just booting into that OOBE experience as such. So what we need to do now is turn this into what we call a SYSPREP image, an image that's ready to be deployed. And we actually don't want to do anything with this image. We want to keep this image almost like a sort of a master image that we can update as and when new Windows updates come out, or if we want to put something new into our sort of template, then we can actually do that. So what we'll need to do here is actually just shut this machine down and make a clone of this machine. So let's just shut this down now. And what I'm going to do is jump back to the Scale GUI. And here's our machine here. So this has been fully updated. What I normally like to do is just to make sure that we don't make any changes to this machine or what have you accidentally, is I like to come in and maybe just change the description to say, you know, okay, so that's our master template, and we do not want to clone from that. And you'll see why in a second. So having said do not clone from this, what I'm going to do is make a clone of this virtual machine. But this one is going to be called our SYSPREP. And then we'll call and that's fine, and we'll hit clone. So this will make an identical copy of this, and then what we do is we will power on this clone, and then we will initiate the SYSPREP procedure. So this VM will just take a few seconds to come on. Let's jump in straight into it. Okay, so here we are. Notice it's jumped straight into the same machine. It's an identical clone, so we'd expect the same experience to happen. But what we're going to do now is, this is our SYSPREP image. We're going to now convert that into a SYSPREP image ready to be deployed as a template. And what we do now is we actually make use of this system preparation tool. We're currently in what's known as the audit mode. It allows us to make changes and what have you. What we want to do is enter the system out-of-box experience. And this is a similar experience to when you get a brand new PC from a manufacturer, from a shop. You switch it on, you just have to type in minimal details, and it comes up and it's ready to use. And all the software that they tend to sort of throw on there is already there installed and what have you. So that's the similar thing that we're going to do here. So we'll choose the OOBE experience. We always want to generalize the image. That means we make it unique, so that each template, as it boots up, will be unique. We do not want two identical servers running on the network at any one time. And then also what we want to do for this particular one is we must shut it down, okay, because we want to then clone from this for building our machines. So let's just do that now. This will just take a few minutes to run through. Okay, so there's the VM shutdown. We'll jump back into the GUI. And this is the machine here, this SYSPREP image. This is the one that we're going to be cloning from when I wish to deploy a new image. We do not want to touch this sort of master template. That's our sort of master one that we can update with new Windows updates. But it's this SYSPREP image that we wish to clone from. So what we do here, very simple. We wish to deploy a new virtual machine. Maybe I want a new file server within my UK domain. So I want to create a new machine. And all I do is come to my SYSPREP image. I can hit the clone button. We'll give this a name. So we're going to call this one file 02. We'll just call that file. Okay. I'm going to tag this under my UK machine, and we'll just remove it from templates. Okay, and we can change the size of the hard drives as well if we wish to from here. I'm just going to clone this now, so this will be ready to go. It'll just take a second to do. Okay, there's our machine. And again, before we power it on, if I want to, I can come in here, change some of the drive information, add additional drives, add additional network cards if I want to. I can even come in here and change the number of CPUs or the amount of memory that I wish to assign to the VM. I'm just going to leave it like this, and then what we're going to do is power this virtual machine on. And you'll see that what will happen now is this will power on and boot in to a point where we just need to give some very minimal information, and then we're up and running. So let's just jump into the console view of that now. Okay, so here we are. So now this is the start of the out-of-box experience. So we can choose what country we're in, keyboard, etc. We'll hit next. A little bit about the Microsoft licensing, fine. We'll put in the administrator's password. And that's it. Machine is ready to go. We can go to login. We've not had to install any VirtIO drivers. We've not had to install any Scale tools. They're already there. Any other software that we may have installed will be available. We have Edge deployed. Importantly, we have all those Microsoft Windows updates deployed. The only next step from here would be maybe to join the domain, give it maybe a static IP address, and then you can further customize this again with maybe some group policies that can come down onto the machine to make changes and what have you. So there's a number of different things you can do and different ways that you can create a system prep machine. This is just one way of doing it. There are other ways, there's other tools out there that you can use as well. But this certainly will allow you to get a very simple way of getting a standard image that you can use to deploy to build various VMs and so on. So I hope you found this this video useful, and thanks for watching this.